Once upon a time, a single drop of purest sunlight fell from the heavens down to the earth. From this small drop, a magical golden flower grew, possessing the power to heal the sick and injured. An old woman named Mother Gothel hoarded the flower's power to keep herself young for hundreds of years. But a nearby kingdom's beloved queen fell deathly ill while pregnant, and only the magic flower could save her life. The king's guards desperately searched the land until they found the flower and brought it back to the castle. The queen drank a tonic made from the flower and was healed, giving birth to a baby girl with shining golden hair. Desperate to regain her youth, Gothel broke into the castle at night and stole the child away into the darkness. She hid Rapunzel deep in the forest in a tall, isolated tower that had no doors and no stairs. 18 years passed quietly, and Rapunzel's hair grew incredibly long, retaining the sun's magical healing power. Mother Gothel visited daily, calling out from below, "Rapunzel, let down your hair," so she could climb up. Rapunzel would hook her 70 feet of golden hair to a window fixture and lower it down for Gothel. Gothel constantly warned Rapunzel that the outside world was a dark, selfish place filled with people who would hurt her. Yet every year on her birthday, Rapunzel watched mysterious floating lights rise into the distant night sky. More than anything in the world, she dreamed of leaving her tower just once to see those lights up close. Meanwhile, a dashing rogue named Flynn Rider had just stolen the lost princess's crown from the castle guards. Chased by the relentless royal guards, Flynn desperately sought a perfect hiding place deep in the woods. By sheer chance, he stumbled through a hidden passageway in the rocks and found the secret valley and the tower. He climbed the tower for safety, but Rapunzel, terrified of the intruder, knocked him out with a heavy frying pan. While he was unconscious, she opened his satchel and discovered the sparkling jeweled crown, though she didn't know its meaning. When Flynn awoke, Rapunzel made a deal. She would return his satchel only if he guided her to see the floating lanterns. Flynn reluctantly agreed to the deal, watching as Rapunzel prepared to leave her home for the first time. Rapunzel used her long hair to lower herself slowly down the stone wall of the massive tower. When her feet finally touched the soft green grass, a wave of pure joy washed over her. She began to run, leap, and spin through the forest, overwhelmed by the beauty of the outside world. But moments later, she collapsed in tears, terrified that she was a horrible daughter for disobeying her mother. Flynn watched her swing between manic excitement and deep regret, realizing this journey would be a challenge. Deep in the woods, Mother Gothel returned to the tower only to find her secret prisoner had vanished. Gothel discovered Flynn's wanted poster and realized a thief had helped Rapunzel escape her prison. Back in the forest, Flynn tried to scare Rapunzel into going home by leading her to a dangerous-looking tavern. Inside, the tavern was filled with the most frightening thugs and ruffians Rapunzel had ever seen. A massive thug recognized Flynn from his wanted posters and immediately grabbed him to claim the reward. Rapunzel jumped into action, begging the thugs to release Flynn so she could fulfill her lifelong dream. She asked if any of them had ever had a dream, silencing the rowdy crowd with her sincerity. To Flynn's shock, the scary thugs began to sing about their hidden passions and secret desires. One thug dreamed of being a concert pianist, while another spent his time collecting tiny glass unicorns. The tavern's mood shifted from threatening to celebratory, as they all realized they shared the same human longing. Suddenly, the royal guards arrived at the tavern, tipped off about Flynn Rider's location by an informant. The thugs, now Rapunzel's friends, helped the duo escape through a secret tunnel behind the bar. Hot on their heels was Maximus, the captain's horse, who was more determined than any human guard. Flynn and Rapunzel ran along a high wooden scaffolding near a massive construction site in the forest. Maximus cornered Flynn on a high ledge, and the two engaged in a comical sword versus frying pan duel. The chase led them to a wooden dam, which began to crack under the pressure of the pursuit. The dam collapsed, sending a massive wall of water rushing toward Flynn and Rapunzel in the canyon. They became trapped in a dark, flooded cave, with the water rising higher and higher every second. Believing they were about to drown, Flynn confessed that his real name was actually Eugene Fitzherbert. Rapunzel suddenly remembered her hair's magic and began to sing the ancient incantation. The glowing hair illuminated a pile of rocks they could move, allowing them to swim to safety. They emerged from the water gasping for air, safe at last on the shore of the river. Flynn was stunned by what he had seen and watched as Rapunzel used her hair to heal a cut on his hand. She explained the power of her hair and the reason she had been locked away her entire life. Flynn shared the story of how he became a thief, inspired by a book about a daring adventurer. A bond began to form between them, one built on honesty rather than the masks they usually wore. Unbeknownst to them, Mother Gothel was watching from the shadows, her eyes cold and calculating. While Flynn went to gather more wood, Gothel approached Rapunzel and tried to convince her to return home. Gothel mocked Rapunzel, claiming that Flynn was only with her to get the crown back. Rapunzel refused to leave, asserting her independence for the first time in her life. Gothel vanished back into the woods, vowing that Rapunzel would learn the hard way about the world's cruelty. The next morning, Maximus found them, but instead of arresting Flynn, he agreed to a temporary truce. Together, the trio finally reached the edge of the forest and saw the massive kingdom of Corona. Rapunzel was mesmerized by the crowds, the colors, and the sheer life of the bustling marketplace. She saw a mosaic of the king and queen holding a golden-haired baby and felt a strange, distant connection. Flynn took her to the village square, where the townspeople were dancing to a lively folk tune. Rapunzel's joy was infectious, and soon the entire village was dancing along with her. As the sun began to set, the kingdom prepared for the main event, the lighting of the lanterns. Flynn rowed Rapunzel out onto the quiet lake in a small wooden boat to get the best view. Suddenly, the first lantern rose from the castle balcony, followed by thousands more into the night. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen, more perfect than any of her paintings. In that moment, she realized that she wasn't just seeing the lights, she was finally finding herself. Rapunzel handed Flynn the satchel with the crown, proving that she trusted him more than her dream. Flynn took her hand, and for a brief second, the world seemed perfect and still. But Gothel had already plotted with the vengeful thugs to destroy their happiness and reclaim Rapunzel. When they reached the shore, Flynn went to give the crown to the thugs, hoping to get them off their trail forever. The thugs knocked Flynn unconscious, tied him to a boat, and sent him drifting toward the castle guards. Gothel appeared and convinced the heartbroken Rapunzel that Flynn had abandoned her, taking the crown for himself. Devastated and believing she was unlovable, Rapunzel allowed Gothel to lead her back to the isolated tower. Across the lake, Flynn was awakened by the guards, who arrested him for theft and sentenced him to hang. Back in her tower room, Rapunzel noticed the sun symbol hidden in every single painting she had ever made. A rush of forgotten memories returned, and she realized with horror that she was the lost princess. She confronted Gothel, refusing to ever let her hair be used again and declaring she would leave. In a rage, Gothel grabbed Rapunzel, gagged her, and chained her to the floor, vowing she would never see the light again. Meanwhile, the tavern thugs and Maximus staged a daring rescue to break Flynn out of the castle dungeon. Flynn rode Maximus furiously back to the hidden tower, desperate to save the woman he loved. He climbed through the tower window, but Gothel was waiting and immediately stabbed him in the side with her dagger. Rapunzel screamed against her gag as Gothel prepared to drag her away to a new hiding place where no one would find them. Rapunzel managed to say she would go willingly with Gothel forever if she was just allowed to heal Flynn first. Gothel agreed, chaining Flynn to Rapunzel to ensure he couldn't escape while being healed. But Flynn, knowing a life as Gothel's prisoner was no life at all, used a shard or broken mirror to cut off Rapunzel's hair. The golden hair instantly turned dark brown and lost all its magical glowing power. Without the magic, Mother Gothel began to age rapidly, her skin withering and her hair turning stark white. In her panic and blindness from rapid aging, she tripped over the cut hair and fell out of the tower window. Before she even hit the ground, her ancient body turned entirely to dust, vanishing on the wind. Inside the tower, Flynn smiled weakly at Rapunzel, told her she was his new dream, and took his last breath. Heartbroken, Rapunzel wept over him, singing the healing incantation one last time, though her hair was dark. A single magical tear fell from her cheek onto Flynn's face, glowing with the very last spark of the sun drop's power. A brilliant golden light radiated from his body, healing his wound and bringing him back to life. Flynn woke up with a joke, and the two embraced, overjoyed to be alive and free together. They left the tower forever and rode Maximus back to the castle to reveal the truth. The king and queen, who had mourned for 18 years, instantly recognized their daughter despite her short brown hair. The royal family shared a tearful, crushing hug, finally reunited after so many years of darkness. The king and queen embraced Flynn as well, welcoming the man who had returned their greatest treasure. The entire kingdom celebrated the return of the lost princess with the biggest party Corona had ever seen. The pub thugs became respected royal guards, and Maximus eventually became the captain of the guard. Flynn reclaimed his birth name Eugene and stopped thieving, finding a new life of honor in the castle. Rapunzel ruled wisely with her parents, her kind heart guiding her far better than her magic hair ever did. After many years of adventures and happiness together, Eugene finally proposed to Rapunzel. Rapunzel said yes, and they were married in a grand ceremony attended by everyone they loved. And so, the girl with the magic hair and the dashing thief lived happily ever after, proving dreams really do come true.